Start recording. All right, so now we are recording, and to kind of preface this video, since this is going to be uploaded to YouTube as well, Ludo and I just wanted to kind of bring everybody together and talk a little bit about some things that are quite interesting in the DeFi space, as we have seen over the last Stable Fund was around a couple months back, but really as of like the last couple weeks, things have been really coming into a lot of these protocols that are trying to launch or protocols that have already existed that are now implementing bots, right? So, and I'm very curious about how this stuff works. I run my own bots personally, and I'm just curious to see what everybody else's opinions are on it, and yeah, just kind of have a general discussion around the topic, and then also to kind of potentially warn you guys, or warn everyone really, of different ways that projects could potentially um, like rug in this case where they're using bots, right? So that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today. And if anybody wants to kind of jump on stage with us and or has any direct questions that they'd like to ask, I'd rather make it like an open forum type of thing, where we actually, if people are comfortable, unmuting and
Yeah, I
coming on
think
stage.
I think we should definitely do that towards the end. I want to make sure that we're able to kind of get our thoughts,
Cool.
and then we're going to make sure that we get some people up here because it looks like everybody so far. We've got several questions already piling in.
Mhm.
First and foremost, I kind of wanted to know, and I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. So we are going to be doing a $250 giveaway for those of you who are watching this recording. Feel free to join us next time. Hopefully, we'll be trying to do some giveaways more often. 5 people are going to win $50, so make sure you stay in till the end. We're just going to wrap this up however we see fit. But
$50 Fridays,
I
bro.
yeah, hey, okay, that's what I'm talking about. I kind of like that idea. But I really wanted to really have this discussion because these bots. I mean, like with Stable Fund, I know that OPT is now running a bot,
Mhm.
or for what we understand, I don't think we know a full amount, a good amount of detail on all these bots. And then Murdoch, you were just telling me, I think 2 days ago, that Horde is actually going to start running a bot
Yep.
into their mix. Um, and so I just sort of wanted to kind of have an opportunity for all of us to talk about these things. Um, but first and foremost, I just want everyone to know that, full disclosure, I am in Stable Fund, and right now it is printing for me. And I think most of you guys know we're actually going to be having them on for an AMA later this next week, I believe. I think Tuesday. I think is that time. So
Yeah.
make sure you're here for that. Murdoch, how do you think, as far as these things are concerned? I mean, we obviously have to kind of go by what the creators of these projects, we're going by faith at this point, because
Mhm.
as far as I know, most of these people aren't saying, by the way, here's the contract and here are the bots that we're running so that you guys can verify everything's legit. So are we just kind of going based off faith at this point?
Well, yeah, because I mean, essentially, if they were to be like, for instance, if Stable Fund, for instance, was to be transparent about like the bots that they're running, the pairs that they're running, how they have the bots set up, like that would essentially give away the benefit of depositing into the protocol, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
like we have to just go by faith, um, which is kind of interesting in the DeFi space in general, right? Like after we've been through all of what we've been through over the last, let's just call it the last year, going through like DeFi summer last year and getting into like Q3 when we were dealing with all the rebasing protocols and then the Titano forks. Like I feel like people have learned to look out for certain things, especially if you didn't just happen to start in DeFi or crypto, right? So it's very interesting that so many people are willing to let go of all that stuff and then now jump into um, protocol where there's a lot of things behind the scenes supposedly that are going on. Um, People are claiming that these types of protocols aren't a Ponzi without really, and I could be very misled, but just from like an outsider looking in, this is what it kind of looks like to me. And I will say this, that the projects that are out there using bots right now, I'm in quite a few of them. Well, I think all the majority of the ones that we already talked about, but I don't pay super close attention. Like I'm not in the Telegram chats every day. I'm not listening to their AMAs every day. I'm just kind of, like I said, from the outsider looking in. So yeah,
I think
it's just
I
interesting,
think
man.
it's crazy because for the most part, throughout the last, like you said, Q3, Q4 has been pretty rough, and then going into this year, the DeFi scene has exploded with Ponzi's and first in first out sort of things. And meanwhile, I think Project Stablecoin has been around for actually quite some time. I think I want to say it's been around for 4 or 5 months, but it started super duper small. And right, I don't think that there was any marketing done for that. And then all of a sudden, I think some people in your premium group, we were talking about that there, and someone mentioned stable fund. You had mentioned stable fund, and
Hmm.
before long, they're just continuously making sure people get these returns. And I would think at this point, something that was actually running a bot, or rather, I should say, something that was actually not running a bot, would not have been sustainable up until this point.
Right.
Because I not only from you and from other people in the DeFi space, I've heard, yeah, I've ROI'd already,
Right.
on my deposit, and then I pull my deposit out,
Mhm.
and this has been going on for months now, kind of behind the scenes. And so you kind of like at one point, on one end, it's like, yeah, we're kind of operating on faith. It used to be the complete norm. If you did not have a contract, if you didn't have someone looking over your contract, hey, a crypto audit, if you didn't have that, it was a no-go, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, we're talking just a matter of weeks and months ago, sometimes days for some of these projects, days ago, we were like, if you did not have, 6 audits going on, if you didn't have KYC with Obsidian Council, like we just weren't going to invest. There's no way we can trust you. God forbid one of those audits comes back, bad. You have exorbitant flaws somewhere in your contract. To today, where now we have stable fund, we got OPT, who were like, hey guys, like we're gonna make you money, and it's proprietary information, but it works. So go ahead and invest. And no, we're not gonna be able to show you anything behind the scenes.
Right.
Like how quickly things have transpired, and
I,
honestly, it kind of gives me chills because it's like, is this kind of like what we can expect in the future? Like, have we finally kind of come full circle to having something sustainable and utility?
well, I think, and this is where like it gets into the topic of like just operating on trust, and that's, I mean, if we really think about it, the point of the blockchain is to not have to put your trust into something, right? It should just be able to you should be able to understand smart contracts and they should just function, and you don't have to worry about trusting if a protocol is going to rug or anything like that in theory, right? Of course there's a tons of different shit that can happen, um, like we've all seen. But what even trips me out even more is like I said, I run my own bots. So I run a delta neutral strategy where I'm longing and shorting a couple different tokens, like all blue chip stuff. So right now, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Atom, and AVAX, right? So I'm longing and shorting both of those, and they work extremely well. So I think I started that back in July, like the middle of July, um, using about like between $10,000 and $15,000 worth of capital, and over that time period up until now, it's generating me about $2,200. So like
Oh
good,
wow.
it's good return, right? But it's not 1.5% return per day. So it's
Hmm.
like that's what kind of trips me out about it is like how what are these bots doing that I'm not? You know what I mean?
Sure.
And and to go like furthermore, like sure, there's some bots that are working and functioning really well, potentially, but that just begs the question is like, okay, well now that people see that bots are so prevalent in DeFi right now, there's inevitably going to be a shit ton of projects that come out of this, and that kind of leads me into when I was telling you about Horde's project and how
Hmm.
easily like it would be to replicate this, right? So essentially, to give you a rundown, if anybody hasn't heard of what Horde is doing, so essentially they've created NFTs. They're going to have 10,000 of these NFTs. The mint price is, I believe, $400. And there is, I want to say, like 300 plus traits on these NFTs. And so obviously there's going to be varying, different levels of rarity to the NFTs. So you buy one of these NFTs. If you do the math, if they mint out, that's about $4 million in capital. I know that some of that capital is going to their liquidity management for the Horde token, but also a large portion of that funds is going to be put into a bot that they're already running, that's already working successfully as a form of like revenue generation for Horde plot holders, right? Um, Now, essentially, they're going to be using those funds, putting them into the bot, and then returning profits from the bot to people that hold these NFTs. And the percentage of that pool that you get back is going to be directly reflecting of the rarity of your NFT. Now, I'm sure that you can kind of see where this is going, but NFTs, if you have an artist, the smart contracts to put in place for NFTs is they're really not complicated, right? So you could there essentially could be a project that says, yeah, we have this bot, it's proprietary, they don't have to show you any evidence. However, we're going to have this mint, and I'm not saying that Horde is going to do this. Horde is one of the most trusted and respected protocols in DeFi space right now. I'm just saying, like, projects that could come in the future to say, okay, well, yeah, we're going to have an NFT, we're going to mint 10,000. They're going to generate a bunch of hype because this is something that's new. Horde hasn't even, like, they haven't even put a date out yet, but they're gonna have this mint, 10,000 mints for, like, they're gonna generate millions of dollars based on this theory that they have a bot that is going to generate or produce revenue for the holders of the NFTs. So that's, like, kind of scary in and of itself, right? So that's one thing I wanted to kind of talk about and make sure that people are careful of, because I mean, obviously that's going to be something that comes down the pipeline. However, like, on the other side of things, like, that can be very interesting too, because now these NFTs, which have died over the last couple months in the bear market, could be revived and are now able to produce real revenue, um, based on the utility or based on the rarity of the NFT, and then also too, just imagine that, like, once the pool of funds that the bot is using to trade with, how much the profits would be, um, if the bot is performing well, and then just imagine what the resale for these NFTs would be. So it's just kind of crazy to think about in and of itself, and that's, like, the big topic that I wanted to kind of talk about today. I know I'm kind of been talking for a minute, but yeah.
No, I mean that's everything you're saying. I mean it makes sense, especially if you're paying attention, you can kind of see like the most logical conclusions to draw, and the most logical routes to take are obviously going to be the ones that are most explored, and that seems like a pretty perfect way to integrate NFTs into this bot trading. I just don't know, as well as with with Stable Fund doing what they're doing, and then now Horde kind of jumping into the mix. But anyway, so I actually just messaged Fythe over on his channel, asked him if he wanted to hop in here with us, and he said he would in the future, so that's cool. Um, but yeah, I think that's more or less a pretty good introduction. I want to try to get some of these questions. Let's see. Murdoch, I'll let you take this first one. Apart from adding liquidity to a DEX from profits generated and earning, okay, which can be rejected.
So who's this
Okay,
coming from?
so yeah, this is coming. If you scroll up on the general chat, uh, can these bots add some additional future features to grow the liquidity? I don't necessarily know what other features you could add to the bot other than trading.
Yeah. So I think that I think that is one function of OPT, and I know if Artisan was in here, he would be able to expand on that a little bit more. But that's how OPT has been able to, add so much liquidity to the token, over the past just couple of days, right? Like, if you look at their charts, it looks great. They're at $1.3 million in liquidity, but they are also, like, so I believe that they have three different bots. They have a bot that trades pairs, that produces revenue and then is paid back to the protocol. Um, and then they also have the bot that keeps the price, kind of like LMS, where it keeps the price in a target area, and you could see it even when OPT2 relaunched, um, that the bot was going in there and making these big drastic sales and then adding those funds to liquidity. So like deepening the liquidity is obviously a great thing because then the price swings are less and less the deeper the liquidity is. So I do think that is a function that's out there currently. I hope that that's kind of what you were asking. So let me see. Apart from adding liquidity to DEX, profits generated and earning 0.3% liquidity provider fee from DEXs, which can be reinjected into liquidity pool, compounding effect, thereby making it deeper. Can these bots add some additional features to grow the liquidity? So I think that maybe that answers your question. If not, I think that was Doc that asked that anyways.
Yeah, he did. He did it in the AMA. I just moved over to general. So, in addition to constant buybacks and burns, can there be other deflationary measures added to these bots? I think at that point you are kind of in the realm of messing with the tokenomics, right? Because in order to be deflationary, burns and buybacks. I mean, I would think that if somebody had thought of a really really good way to do a deflationary measure that didn't directly involve the tokenomics, it probably would have already been thought of. I can't think of anything logically that you could do other than one of those two things. I mean, it's supply and demand, right? So you have to mess with one of those two things in order to make something deflationary. But
And I
if you
think,
got any thoughts, I'm all game.
well, I think that Optimus is doing that. Um, because I know, well, here's the interesting component to that protocol. It's like, so the way that you make money is through rebases like you would a normal Titano fork, but I think that there's a cap total supply. I don't think it's an elastic supply like we would typically see on like your regular Titano forks where they just print tokens into oblivion and then drastically dumps the price. Do you know what I mean? They can't keep up with
Right.
that. So
So eventually, I guess what you're saying at that point, once the cap was reached of tokens,
mm,
then it would just be whoever's holding gets the rebases and basically gets the profit, rather than just sending to your wallet the profits. How, because like you said, it's in rebase. So aren't they just going to continue sending tokens at that point?
right, yeah, I
What
really
happens when they reach that cap? I mean, how do you continue to send the profits to to your holders?
right. And that's a great question, and I know that I think that Optimus is having an AMA soon. It might even be today, I believe. Because I know Artisan was talking about like how there's kind of been a little bit of radio silence on their end since launch.
Hmm. Hmm.
But we'll see. And yeah, that's a very interesting component to the protocol, and I think that's definitely something that while right now might not be a big issue, but in the future, it absolutely could be, right? So
Well, and if any of you are managed to catch information or information that we don't know about, feel free to post in general chat. I'm just scrolling down, so we'll get to everything that you all are saying right now. But also, if you're able to show up to any of these AMAs for any of these big projects, feel free to come back here and drop it in the general chat so that we can chat about it because I'm always checking. Um, how does Uniswap or other DEX's constant product formula X times Y equal K work in their scenario?
I have no idea.
I don't
I'll
either.
just be
How does
completely
use
honest.
or other constant product formula X times Y equals K? Hmm. Maybe if I come back and read that later, it'll make sense. There are products like EasyBots which trade for us. Yep. Are they more profitable in the long term? Um, that's a good question. I would imagine things like KuCoin have metrics to kind of measure by. I'm sure they have ways to kind of see how more or less their bots are performing.
Well,
But with the way things are right now, with some of these like stable fund, I would imagine KuCoin does not have it set to where they are as profitable. But then again, stable funds kind of the DeFi space, so maybe these centralized exchanges aren't comfortable doing what it is that things like stable fund are doing right now.
and I think too, this kind of goes back to this begs the question like, what are these AI trading bots? You know what I mean? And this kind of
Right.
jumps into like a couple of the next questions from Shadow. It's like, so just based on my knowledge, if we talk about the different types of bots they are, or that there are out there, we have a couple of them. The ones that I specifically use are DCA bots or dollar cost average bots that are essentially just looking at a couple of different metrics to open up or close positions, right? Some of that, sometimes it could be based on RSIs, a bunch of other things, right? Then you have grid trading bots, which essentially, when you program these grid trading bots, which is a company like Alchemy Trades that we should be talking with here in the future, but he is actually in the Discord. He's not up here with us on the stage or in the AMA or whatever we're going to call this, the Soapbox rally per se. But they run grid trading bots. So essentially, what that is let's just say you wanted to trade OPT2, since we're talking about Optimus a little bit. Essentially, you'd give this bot a parameter, like a high end number. Let's just call it, since it's at 92 cents right now, let's just call it, we'll say 98 cents, the top level. And then you also give it a bottom level, and we'll just call that like 80 cents. So then it paints a grid across those two different numbers, and it could be like 14 different grids. And if the price is going down and it hits that grid, it's going to buy. And if it goes back up and hits the next grid above that, it's going to sell, right? So it's very basic as far as grid trading bots go. Um, like I said, primarily those are the two that I use. Now, if we're talking about a company that is all like using some proprietary AI bot, then that's kind of beyond me and my understanding of how these bots function. So that kind of like is another thing about it being proprietary, is like we don't really know what the hell is going on behind the scenes, and and obviously that's so that it's not replicated by any other protocols, right? Like so, Stablefund wouldn't want to share what their bot is doing, um, for fear that somebody's just going to try to copy it and do that, or that users would be able to copy it on their own, and then of course then that at that point there would be no reason for a protocol to be around if everybody could just do it on their own.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And his second question is, how do algorithmic trading bots actually work? My friend, that is what we are trying to surmise. I if you just plug it into your phone, 1.5% a day is lovely. If you, assuming you're auto compounding, or not auto compounding, but say you're doing something stable fund, you're compounding every day, this number would be a lot higher. But if you just take 1.5 times 365, you come out with 547. So that's essentially saying over the course of a year, assuming you don't compound at all, we're going to give you 547% of what you initially invested. Compounding that drastically increases that. So I highly recommend to be doing that. But as far as how they're actually making the trades to make these bots profitable and to be able to pay people out, I mean, it has to come down to law of thermodynamics. I mean, you can't. You've got to be able to buy something low and sell it high. So I don't know if these bots are like trading on super thin margins and are basically just scalping and pulling out every single cent that they can. If maybe they found some sort of exploit, in some the blockchain or some of these big massive contracts, some of these tokenomics to in order to take advantage of that. It's kind of anyone's guess. Murdoch, do you have any thoughts on how they might work?
Yeah, I mean, well, to kind of piggyback off what you're saying is like, so I mean, for the bots that I use, I'm using leverage, so like small movements equal big numbers, right? So
Right.
that could also be something that they're doing, but obviously, when you're using leverage, it becomes inherently more risky, when you're looking at like liquidation and prices and things like that. So, I mean, I've learned the hard way about liquidation using these bots, and they're not perfect. I've been liquidated once just from a quick movement of Ethereum, and I got screwed on that. But it was a learning lesson, right? But that just goes to show it's like these bots still have to have oversight from people that actually know what they're doing. Um, so yeah, it's very interesting. And I know that Keith, you might have some more information about these algo bots if you I don't know if you wanted to jump up on here and let everybody know what's going on.
Yeah, I think you can raise your hand. Yeah, there he is. Let's see. Let's get you up here. There you go. You have been invited to speak, sir. Yeah.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Right on. Good morning, guys. I'm in the I'm on Pacific time, so West Coast, so still morning here. But yeah, for me, I've been kind of trying to explore every nook and cranny of the bots and the different different options there are out there. And what I'm finding is there's just a lot of variation with returns. You see some stuff that's able to generate a 0.25% to 1% per day, to stuff that can generate 10 to 20% in a day. And what I'm noticing is I think the key, and you mentioned it, Murdoch, is leverage is a big part of that. I believe is how you're able to see those larger numbers. And so that's why you're able to see obviously the greater returns, I believe, on those types of bots. I can't imagine that you can generate those type of returns without some sort of leverage. um, but the other thing is too, is I think it depends what you're trading as well. Like in my mind, every bot is trading crypto, right? But that's just not the case. There's bots that are trading gold. There's bots that are trading currencies and forex and and things like that. And so I think that there are strategies out there, I think, that can produce consistent results and decent percentages with lower risk.
Right.
But I think that to have those kinds of bots, the type of setup that's necessary, it probably, number one, you need a lot of testing, you need a lot of time, and probably a lot of money too, to be able to run those things effectively and make sure that they're adjusting with market conditions,
Yeah.
and trying to avoid high risk events like liquidations and things like that too. So I think that we're accessing just a small tip of the iceberg of what there really is. And that's why I think, man, there's going to be so much growth in the space, is because I think there's a lot more depth and a lot more out there as to what you can do, with these kinds of things. Um, but I had mentioned this in the comments. The way I look at it, though, and I think this is probably the best way for everybody to look at it. The higher return you're getting, the higher risk it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, just make sure that you're aware of that. And, as you move into higher returns, the temptation is to go put in more, on a higher return and less on a lower return. But really, it should be the opposite. We should be looking, things that are more delta neutral, that are more stable, more secure, less risky inherently. We should probably be putting more into those, and then less into the others. And what I like to do, my strategy, is to roll those profits from the higher risk into the lower risk as well.
Yeah.
Kind of my view on the bot environment that we're in currently. And I think there's, like I said, I still think there's a lot of growth to come, and a lot of different things that can be done, especially as people start putting time and money into it. These spaces are going to grow, but that's going to also bring kind of what you guys talked about earlier. It's going to bring projects that are going to be shady, and people are going to start losing money in the space because they're just going to think it's a bot, it must be good.
Right.
But people are just going to start taking advantage. And what's funny to me is kind of thinking back to the first bots that I started off with, and lost money on, was Swapnex, and it was OCTPS. I think it was what it was.
Yeah.
Um, and those ones were, both scams. You know what I mean? But it was so funny because they kind of like were somewhat pioneers, right? But yet, and so I think it's good that we're starting to see legitimate projects come out, but it doesn't mean every project's going to be legitimate either.
Right. And since it's something new, it's so easy to get that shiny object syndrome and be like, oh, like everybody's hyped about bots, so you know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to get into everything that's launching. Kind of like it was when we were dealing with DAOs and things like that last year. But also
Yep.
too, it's like it makes you wonder if somebody's out there that has a bot that can or like that is running bots and knows what they're doing and consistently produces massive amounts of cash for themselves, like it makes you wonder what the incentive is to then create a protocol where other people can take advantage of that as well too. When you already have, at that point, it wouldn't necessarily be making money for yourself. So I mean, it's just kind of interesting that this kind of stuff is coming out.
Yeah. Let's see who
Okay,
else we
I'm gonna run
have.
to the bathroom real quick.
Okay, no
Two
worries.
seconds.
Afia says, "Isn't that a Nickelodeon project?" Yes, yes, it is. It's a Nickelodeon project. Yeah, I also would recommend just trying out Stable Fund. Go in with something you're comfortable losing. This is DeFi after all. The one of the big things for Stable Fund, and obviously we're going to have them on next week, so make sure you're here for that, as I mentioned earlier. But the one of the big things for Stable Fund is that they're actually on the App Store. Now, I know that from personal experience, I had a friend who in college who was making a game just to post in the App Store. And while I'm sure the gaming sector for the App Store might be a tad bit different, but my man could not get published to save his life on the App Store itself. So to see a more or less DeFi protocol, and I'm going to call it DeFi because as far as I know, Stablefund is not partnering with any centralized exchanges at this point, which kind of inherently, in my opinion anyway, kind of makes it DeFi. To have a DeFi protocol that is already listed on the App Store is kind of nuts. It's part of the reason why I decided to jump in, and it's doing well for me as of right now. Yeah, scammers moving from trend to trend. Kiro, you're absolutely right. That is just going to continue to happen. Um, Revenue generation via bots is a cool idea. Main question is, when are you coming up with a bot project? Yeah, so that's actually a great question. We haven't really been talking about it, but that is definitely something that I could see. If we can get more comfortable with bots, we would probably want to, get in on it, right? Because if it's as successful, for some of these projects to be launching, bots that give strong ROIs, for people who invest. I definitely don't see why that we wouldn't also try to make up our own protocol, and reward those people who are here early and part of the community, because that's obviously what I'm looking to do. Is I want to be able to give back as often as I can. Let's see, Kira, agree. Bot trading can't make money from constant downtrend. There's many profitable bot. Yeah, and that's what it comes down to, right? You have to find a bot that works for you. I think somebody asked earlier, what kind of bots Murdoch was running. I think I am actually in on it. Alchemy Trades. I will go ahead and post a just a link here. We're gonna have these guys on too.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna post it in the general chat.
there's a couple of them. So
Yeah.
I know that I think Keith even runs Alchemy Bots, which there's for me it's so I will say this, like the cool thing about Alchemy Bots is that you can use it and it connects directly to MetaMask. You don't have to worry about putting funds in a centralized exchange or worrying about your money going somewhere else other than your decentralized wallet. So that's a pretty cool thing. Also, too, is like when we look at pairs that we could potentially want to trade, for instance, OPT2 or Optimus, that's not something that we could trade on a centralized exchange, right? So now that this is a bot that functions strictly through MetaMask and using DEXs, it allows you to trade like literally any pair that you want. If it's just some random shitcoin or otherwise, that is that's kind of an interesting factor. The other one that I run bots through 3 commas through an FTX account. And that just uses like APIs to be able to control things. So it's a little bit different there. Obviously, the funds held in FTX, the centralized exchange, so that also, especially this time with us being in a bear market, is inherently risky in and of itself, right? So, yeah.
Burner, I just posted a link to the Discord for Alchemy Trades bots. They are very affordable. I actually just bought a bot. I bought a subscription to their model. I think it's just a one-time payment, although they might have just raised the prices. I'm not entirely sure, but it cost me $350 to get the bot. I've yet to set it up because we're going to have them on, I think, next week, and they are going to they're constantly rolling out updates, and Murdoch Shadow's asking for a link to 3 commas if that's something you have available. You could just post
Oh,
that in the general chat.
yeah.
but that I think they are definitely a good starting point for you. Like I said, I haven't personally set one up. Maybe in the future, if we can really get a handle on how all these bots are working and how lucrative they can be and how safe and secure and risk averse, preferably, maybe we could get some media out there to kind of help people set up these bots. Once they're all a little, just a tad bit more mainstream, I have no doubt that there is going to be videos and or walkthroughs that help people to get these kinds of things set up. I've actually been in contact with a bot developer, and I told him, I said, look, you need to have videos, you need to have Q and A's, most frequently asked questions about these bots active and ready for your new users who are coming on, just to make sure that they can get these going as fast as possible, because that's basically how bots in the space are going to continue to grow and find themselves having more and more users, because at the end of the day, if all of DeFi collectively is using a bot, I mean, then we're all early, because once we're all making money and corporations take notice to that, that's when all the layman's will come, when you have other people who are able to find themselves on these trading bots, and everybody at that point, the whole world will get on it. But we want to make sure we're first, right? Because um, so be practicing now, and figure out which bots that you think are going to be helpful for you, and get to going, because that's the only way to be successful in this world.
Yeah, definitely. So with I know that I just sent the 3 commas link. And with 3 commas, like I said, I'm running DCA bots, but they are configured. Like there's a bunch of settings that you can go in there and configure and play around with. And if you do decide to go that route, then definitely start with small amounts of capital before you jump into something and get wrecked. So
Hey, we actually have Alchemy in here with us. Alchemy, hey buddy, I've just invited you up to speak. So I think Murdoch, how are we on time? How long have we been running so far?
we're about 36 minutes. I got a hard stop in about 15 minutes. So
That's what me too. So, hey, Alchemy, great. Thanks for hopping in, Bout. We were just dropping discords for relevant bots that are kind of
I
in the
know.
space right now.
I saw.
Yeah, good, man. I'm glad you saw. So, yeah, obviously your name has come up. Do you want to take like maybe 4 or 5 minutes and this is all being recorded, so we'll have this posted later, but take 4 or 5 minutes and just kind of walk through what you guys are doing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. I just jumped in, so I'm sorry. I don't know what you guys talked about or anything. I was meant to join earlier, but I forgot to. But so I'm one of the developers for Alchemy Trades. We are creating a algorithmic trading bot, as well as a improved DEX front end, as well as other algorithm tradings for all of DeFi. We noticed that there were no DEX or no grid trading softwares that existed on DEXs. They all exist on like CXs. You go to most KuCoin and all the things that they exist, and they're really popular. But there's nothing on DEXs, and DEXs are super volatile. They're essentially designed to do well on grids, and so we sat down, wrote software, and just plugging away at it.
Heard. And are there any specifics you can tell us about how these bots work in general? Otherwise, I feel like it's always nice to have somebody who's here who can kind of shed a little bit more light on what's happening.
Yeah, so all the bots run through the Web3 API. There's different versions for different codes. Our version is through Python. It all runs through direct contract calls to the blockchain itself. So, technically, when you're going to PancakeSwap, Trader Joe, anything like that, and you're performing a trade, you get the front end of the trade, but it's all happening on the back end through contract calls. So we're just eliminating all of the front end stuff and automating all of that. So it's just a direct call directly to the blockchain.
Okay. See, and that's pretty explainable, right? And that is really easy to understand, I think, for most people. As long as you've been in the space for any length of time and you kind of understand basic jargon, that is something that I think is pretty easy, palpable. So what I think most of you got to know, I think I already have it posted in the events section. We're actually going to be having Alchemy on for a full length AMA. So thanks for hopping up here, brother.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thank you so much. And what I'll do now at this point is I will go ahead and go ahead and make sure we have that giveaway going. So I have my random number generator. Alchemy, I hope you're not upset. I'm going to exclude you from this since we're having you on a couple weeks from now. And let's see, we have 10 people. Let's go ahead and generate a number. All right, so we got number 4. So Afia, we got Afia for 1. Make sure I'm writing all these down. Afia.
Alchemy says he's pissed.
Yeah, you better be, bro. Let's get another one. 9. That is going to be, nobody better be. Don't leave right now if you want your shit. Doc, looks like you, Doc. You're gonna get that 50. So we got Afia, we got Doc, and we got what? 3 more. Let's do another number. We got 2. Who is in that second place? A Chigger. A Chigger. And then let's do another random number. 1. Who is 1? Kiro. My boy. Gonna grab that 50. And last but not least, one more random number. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Clones. What up, Clones? Man, I haven't seen you before. Welcome. So, boys, I have their names listed here. So if you guys want to just go ahead and send me your OX wallet, I'm going to send you 50 USDC. If you were a winner of the Refi AMA giveaway, I'm going to have that sent today. I'm going to do it all right now. Family's finally gone. I've got some free time now, so I'm going to go ahead and get all that sent out. But thank you guys all for showing up on short notice.
Yeah.
I would love to have more of these little chats with you guys, little soapbox rallies. We're going to go ahead and post this to YouTube. I'm going to have the link posted in our Discord somewhere. I might make a new channel for it, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again. But thanks again for coming out, guys, and we'll talk to y'all very soon.
Yeah, and then real quick before we head off, I do want to kind of let you guys know like what our goal here is for DeFi Soapbox. So essentially, like of course we want to do AMAs with projects to get you guys exposed to different things, like, and then also too, like what we're doing today and holding these kind of rallies where we're just kind of getting on here, picking a topic, just kind of shooting the shit, answering questions, and just I think that if we can focus on lifting up the community together and doing things that way, and that is always kind of like where our focus is, then I think that this will turn into something pretty cool. And also too, guys, if you guys have projects that you've heard about, you're interested in doing AMA or having them on board, look, we're not charging people for AMAs or anything like that. This is strictly like a passion thing for Ludo and myself. So like
Well, for now.
right. But regardless, yeah, if you guys want to have any specific protocol, just shoot me or Ludo, probably Ludo, a DM, let them know who, connect them. And then also I would really be super appreciative and grateful if you could invite your friends to the server, so that way we can build a community and lift everybody up together. So
Okay. Very good. All right, boys, we will talk soon, and we'll have an update. I think we have an AMA tomorrow with, I want to double check, make sure I have everything together. Tomorrow with Junie. Oh, that's going to be hype. Oh, I can't wait to have Junie on tomorrow. That's going to be so much fun. All right, but I will see you all then. Take care.
Bye, boys.